Welcome to video number 13. The Pacer is back in the hangar, and I worked on putting the rudder pedals in, so this all works now. I'm working right now on the little boot that goes around the bottom of the control column, so I can put that on, because my goal is to get all this finished and then put the brakes on, so I can bleed the brake, can put the firewall on and the brake fluid reservoir on, so I can bleed the brakes and get them working, and also finish the installation of the fuel lines. So I put the rest of the fuel lines are all in. I just have to connect them here by the firewall, and then of course here's going to be a fuel strainer on the outside of the firewall, so I want to do that. And then inside here I've put the battery box in so far, put the control yokes in, had them powder coated so they look nice and new again. And then I was working also on the last painting that I have to do, well, almost last painting. I put the rudder on earlier and mask off where the red stripe goes. And I was working on the inspection covers and the trim cover, but but I realized that I actually better put the horizontal stabilizer on, and I didn't bring them, they're still at home. So I'm gonna bring them tomorrow, put the horizontal stabilizers on, and run the full trim up and down to make sure that the trim covers here don't interfere with the travel of the trim. So that are my next steps. So to make sure that the cover here for the trim is in the right spot, I lined it exactly up where I put the bezel on that goes underneath here to hold the plate. But I need to mark off where I paint the red, so I installed the horizontal stabilizers on both sides and lined up the this plate here, the trim plate for the trim. So right now the trim is on the furthest down position, so let's crank it up. Okay, so that's on my indicator, shows the highest up position, so that's how far it travels. So everything is good, so I can mark off this inspection or the covers to paint the red and the blue. So I've been busy putting things back onto the Pacer, and so the rudder pedals are all done here, so they're in. I hooked up the parking brake, which is here, so one on each brake cylinder on the pilot side, and when you pull the parking brake, the levers just go up and block the cylinders, and then you have pressure on the brakes. So, but that is all in, and the inside, now I have the yokes in. Like I said, here's now the parking brake lever is back in. And now I'm start working on actually putting the firewall back on. And let's show with the firewall back on the airplane. So I've been working on preparing the firewall to go back on the airplane. So this is a brand new stainless steel firewall. So I put here where the ignition wires come through from the ignition key, voltage regulator, brake reservoir, the brake line from the pedals will come right through here, gas collector bracket, the insulation for where the cable for the starter comes through, and then of course front cabin heat and the rear cabin heat. So everything is on. Next step is to put controls in and then see how the control cables, for instance for the heater boxes, I remember they run down here, and so come here from this hole here. Okay, let's actually get the camera there. So from this hole run down and then over here. So I have to put little like number 10 screws or number 8 screws or something in for studs to hold some clamps. And the same is with some of the other controls. So I have to see how it was routed before, but I'm gonna start working on that now. Yeah, and I've been working on getting the pacer ready to hang the engine back on. So basically the new firewall is on, engine mount is on, got everything that goes onto the firewall on, except it's gonna be the air oil separator that goes here. I haven't put on yet. I had the engine mount on already without putting the gas collector on, and then I found out I can't put the gas collector on when the engine mount is in place, so I had to take the engine mount back off, then put the gas collector on. I put some chafing tape here, but there is about 1/8 inch of clearance here, so that is how it was before, so that should be okay. And then today I put the instrument panel in, the new ones, because there's going to be the oil line and the for the oil pressure and oil temperature that goes through the firewall and connects the engine. So looks actually, I don't know how well the camera picks up here with the light, but this is the new right hand side. What's missing is the oil pressure, oil temperature gauge and the compass, and then here's the flight instrument side. So also looks pretty good. There's still labels I have to put on, but when I put it on, the left side doesn't fit. And as the saying goes, if it's worth doing once, then it's worth doing twice. And what I did is, now since I took a lot of the manual flight instruments out, I had a little bit more room here. So I decided to move my CDI glide slope from my left side to the right side, and it hits here. So unfortunately, I have to go back in the basement. I think I still have a piece of aluminum left, and just make the left side new, and move the there's a camera, maybe pick up with the light here. Move the CDI glide slope indicator from the right back to the left. So it will not. I thought this looks nicer, having everything on the right and the big open space on the left, but it's just not supposed to be. So anyway, so I'm working the rest of the day to get everything ready. Oh yeah, and also I'm working on getting the wings on. So I installed the pop-out window already, because the top of the pop-out window is below the wing, the lower wing, the bottom of the wing. So these screws is easier to put them in before you put the wing on. So that's what I'm doing now. Hopefully this weekend I can get some friends to help me to put the wings on, and I will be in the meantime working to get the engine on. So my EAA chapter friends just left. I was going to do a time lapse on putting the wings on, but I totally forgot. I was so excited that the wings are going on. So, but here it is. So my Pacer has wings again. For both wings, it took about an hour and a half. So, and the more difficult part on my particular airplane is because I have 3 fuel hoses that have to go on. 2 are here, one for the main tank, one for the auxiliary tank, and then the one in the rear for the rear main. So that was the only little challenge, to move them in or put them on while the wing moves on, but now I can finish putting the nuts on the bolts and torquing everything down, and then I can start hooking up the controls, ailerons and flaps, and I have wings again. And first time since March I'm putting fuel in the fuel tank. Since we hung the wings yesterday, I'm gonna testing the there's no leak, and just as a precaution, I always, if you can see this red wire here, I always ground the airplane to the actual power outlet in the hangar, just to make sure I don't cause a fire here. So I have my funnel here, and I put the first about 4 gallon in just for the first test, and checking this would be in the main tank, so it's this one here. This is the auxiliary tank, so I'm testing the left main first, so make sure this looked inside of the wing on the gas tank, of course, and then make sure it is fine here, and then I have this fitting here, and also tracing it all the way down to the fuel selector, making sure there's nothing dripping here, and so far so good. So I will continue filling in fuel and make sure I don't see any fuel leaks. So while I put the first 4 gallon of fuel in the tank, gonna make sure there's no leak before I put more in. I'm also working on hooking up the aileron and the flap, and some of you may know, but when I redid the wings, I put this nice big covers on here, access covers. It makes it so much easier to actually work in here, because you can get in with both fingers or both hands, and you can see what you're doing. So the flap is set up here. Right now the flaps don't go all the way to the stop. See, they're drooping here a little bit because I had to replace the lower flap cable, so obviously there's a difference between the old one and the new one, so I need to adjust that. But in the meantime, this is the first aileron cable, so now I'm going to do the next one here and get my aileron set up. So I got done connecting everything to the wings today. I bolted everything on, torqued everything, cotter pins in, and I also hooked up the flaps, so they're working again, and also the ailerons. Now I have ailerons again. So that will conclude video number 13. I also filled up the left tank this morning, and there's no leaks, so that means I'm done with this video, and next is gonna putting the engine on and get that all hooked up. So see you at the next video.